Yeah, welcome back, everybody. We're laughing again because of the stupid countdown on this platform. But before we started recording, we were talking about how some people can just get on your nerves to the point that no matter what they do after that, you just get angry no matter what. And we're talking about a particular client of mine that I can't stand. And even if he said something nice and he was like, "This is great," I would still just seeing his name on my phone irritates me. And of course, I knew better than to work with this guy, but he asked me for a quick favor for money, of course. And I told him I would do it. And then I instantly regretted it because he's one of those send you something to do and then 10 minutes later ask you when it'll be done. Like, is it done yet? Kind of thing. Like I'm just sitting here just waiting for him to give me something to do. My calendar's
Yeah.
booked out, for the most part. So
I
anyway, we were
wonder,
talking about
I wonder, can't remember if it's a conversation I had with you or someone else where like there's a lot of clients out there that once you start working for them or, I guess, yeah, you're working for them, they're working for you and you have an agreement, they think that they're the only client that you work
yes.
for, right? They just have this like thing like, oh, I just hired a web developer. He is my go-to guy, which I would be. But I don't just like, I mean, unless you're paying me $10,000 a month, which you're not, I'm going to have other clients to sustain my life. Like they don't logically rationalize. Well, let's say, okay, I'm paying him 550 US. So yeah, there's no one else you could possibly be working for. I don't know if I have clients like that, but I have some friends or acquaintances or people that I have that I get a message from them and was like, oh, what do you want? Like, oh, you're doing a great job today. It's like, just
Yeah. So
bitter.
what? It's some kind of human trait where you kind of forget all the bad stuff. Like over time, it's like a romantic relationship. You look back and you think about somebody that you dated like 15, 20 years ago, whatever, 10 years ago even, and you're like, that was fun. What was so bad about it? Because you forget the day to day, every moment that was
Mm.
miserable. Same thing with clients. That wasn't so
Yeah.
bad. Let's do it again. The next thing you know, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. That's why I hate this person.
I mean, it depends on if they like slow drip feed fuck you or if it's one big fuck off event,
Yeah,
right? Like if it's like little tiny things and you forget it, but if it's like, she cheats on you and let's say you're married and she cheats on you and all of a sudden you have like a baby that's not even yours, like that's something you'll always remember. You're not going to be forgetting a lifetime event like that. So if it's
true.
little minuscule things that just compound daily, you'll forget those over time. But if it's like a drastic, like trauma creating event, you're going to
Yeah,
remember that for sure.
yeah, I know, 100%. Yeah. So
Yeah,
anyway,
we're gonna dive
go
into
ahead.
some proposal stuff today. I'm
Yeah.
wearing a new piece of jewelry. I was
Oh, what
at
do you got there?
at a wellness
Jeez.
retreat over the weekend, so it's gold. She hand makes them all, but this is an ancient Tibetan spiritual ritual tool they have here.
I was gonna say that's intricate. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, so she hand makes it. So this right here represents the faces on there. It represents 360-degree awareness. So it helps you just like overall be aware of like, your surroundings, what you're doing. I actually Google searched the other part because I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but this is a three-sided dagger. So basically, it's not actually meant for a weapon, but what it's meant
Right.
is to help shed and get rid of the three different phases. So it's the physical, the verbal, and the mental domains. And this is to help you shed things that no longer serve you, help you process traumas, get through physical and mental and spiritual journeys. So it's a really cool. And it has I forget the name of the stone that's on it as well, but I don't wear it every day now. I'm just wearing it to podcast recordings, spiritual events, my men's circle that I've started up, anything where, I'm going to need some sort of protection or awareness. I mean, realistically, I probably should wear it every single day, but
Hmm.
I'm not going to be going to the gym, bench pressing with this hanging from my face.
It's interesting that you bring this up because Ori's a big fan of that. Ori, the hypnotherapist that we're
Yeah.
going to have on the show soon. He's been doing NLP, hypnotherapy, trauma therapy for a long time. So he's not just somebody who just calls himself that. Like he's actually been through all the training and he's got certifications. And he all over his apartment and even on his body, like he has. I don't know what you want to call them, just like reminders like that. Whether
Yeah.
it's a necklace, I know he's got some of that. He also keeps something in his pocket, and he keeps things up all over. So even somebody who's like an expert in the field of like avoiding certain mental traps and kind of making it through the day and all the things that we all need to get better at, he still needs to remind himself all the time. So he's a big fan of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anything you can keep on your person, like a physical reminder of all that stuff, because we could talk about it all day, but you really do need to have something, that you can feel it. It's here. I'm looking at it all the time. It's a really, really good idea.
Yeah, and the nice part too, it's got some weight to it as well. It's fairly heavy, so it's like the reminder is always touching you, and you always kind of feel it. So it sits with you. It's kind of resting right above my stomach on my chest. So it's just like I kind of feel it centered with like my body and my wholeness. So it's a really cool. I saw a piece. Actually, well, I saw my girlfriend went over to the jeweler at the festival, and she's like, I like this necklace. So I went over there. I saw this one. I'm like, I want this one. Like just something about it called to me. I'm like, I really want that piece. They were expensive, but it was a purchase because I mean it's all handmade and handcrafted, and it's just something that really spoke out about it to me. So yeah,
Yeah,
wearing
that's nice.
a new piece today.
And just like with most of the more, I don't want to call it spiritual, but most of the things that we're all kind of like exploring now about consciousness and everything else. And I'm not talking about like getting way out there with in the religious realm. I'm just saying all the things that we're kind of learning as a whole society, but as growing as adults and getting more mature, or whatever you want to call it. 5, 6 years ago, I would have been like, that's kind of dumb. But now I do those kinds of things, even if it's a Post-it note, something, like an affirmation or something, just to
Yeah.
help you make it through the day. It's really smart.
Yeah,
I mean, what's the
actually,
harm
right
in that?
above my computer screen here, I have a list of 15 affirmations I read out every day. I forgot to do this morning, actually. I just looked at it now. I'm like, oh, shit, I got to read those. But, just little affirmations like, I love myself. I am worthy of love. I'm whole. I'm powerful. I'm a king. Like, just things like that. Because the more words become thoughts become manifestations, and manifestation becomes a reality. So if you tell yourself certain things enough, it becomes a reality. And the same goes for negative, too. Like, I mean, I remember I caught myself in it. I like years ago when I was young, I was lied about like a story that happened at a party, and I just kept telling the same lie over and over again because I thought it'd be better than the actual version of what happened. And it got to the point where I actually fucking believed it happened. Like I convinced
Sure.
myself. I was like, oh yeah, no, I remember that night. Yeah, this happened. This happened. I'm sitting there like shit. Like no, like in my body, I felt it was true because I just kept telling myself over and over again. So it can work for both the positive and the negative.
I may have told that story here on a different show, but I am convinced that when I was in that retreat and everybody around me got deathly ill because somebody came with COVID and just they set you in a meditation hall. And even though your little meditation pillows are spaced out evenly, like some people took it like too extreme, too literally, like you're not supposed to move. And like you can cover your, so they're just all sneezing. Like everybody around me just, so of course it starts in one end of the room. And then over the course of a few days, like the next person starts coughing, and all around me, all these people. I mean, when I say ill, when I say like head cold, I mean not just the sniffles. I mean everybody was just like hacking and feverish, and I'm the only one who didn't get sick. And now, of course, I'm consciously thinking like I need to wash my hands more, and they have like hand sanitizer. But I would walk around the little yard outside the meditation hall when they let us go outside, and I would say over and over and over in my head, my immune system is strong. I'm not going to get sick. I don't get sick. And I would say that, and mostly because I had nothing else to do. I didn't have my phone for 12 days. I had nothing else to do. So I'm like, well, I might as well say something in my head. And anyway, I said that the whole fucking time. Like I kept saying that. And maybe it was placebo effect, whatever. It doesn't matter. It worked. I didn't even get like slightly ill. And I was still uncomfortable the whole time because we didn't have any caffeine and we were only eating once a day. So I was still run down. But everybody else got sick and I did not. Maybe it was my immune system, who knows? But I do attribute some of it to just having the mindset and just reminding myself over and over and over again, like, no, you're not going to get sick. Fuck these guys, kind of thing. It worked.
It kind of reminded me of that story. I won't drop names, but there's a one lady here in Playa that you and I both know, and she was talking about how the gamma rays from Wi-Fi radiation don't penetrate her body because she tells herself every day
Yeah.
that it can. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, if it could work for your immune system, it might work for that. But I remember at the time she told me that, I was like, okay, lady, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you tell yourself,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be. It's like a nuclear bomb going on. I was like, radiation won't come through me. Jeez, the power of Christ compels you.
Yeah.
But back then, I was like, there's no way that's true. And like now, I'm starting to believe, like, yeah, maybe she does tell herself, like, I'm immune to this. I won't get sick. I won't get sick.
I guess if the end result is the same, that you don't get ill, and if even if it's made, that's what's so strange about all this stuff is you can know. And Ori was actually describing this on the last show I did with him. You can know in the back of your mind that this, like whatever you're telling yourself, could be bullshit. Like you could literally know, like I'm fooling myself, but the brain still, it still picks up on it. It still uses it. There's those two parts of the brain. There's the one that'll say like me telling myself I'm not going to get sick. In my mind, words aren't going to keep me from getting sick. It's going to be washing my hands and everything and not touching doorknobs. But it doesn't matter. Like you can actually hold the thought in your head that this is horseshit and then still say it and go through the mantras, whatever you're doing, your affirmations, and it still works. That's the weird part. It's like,
Yeah.
you could even be skeptical yourself. You don't have to buy into it. And it still fucking works.
It's such a weird thing. Well, it's kind of like the difference between the masculine side and the feminine side. The masculine side is like the logical side. Like words will not protect me from a virus going out. Like this is stupid. This is stupid. The feminine side, it's like it'll work. just let it happen and try it. So like it's your brain working on both sides. It's fighting each other. Like the logic is like words can't do something. Like if you look at it from like an actual like not a spiritual point of view or a different realm, different universe point of view, but if you look at it from like just a logical point of view, it's like the words that I create, I can hear them. They can't actually fix my body, right? The logic side tries to do that, but yeah, it's really cool how you can just go between the two and it still ends up working. So it's a weird phenomenon for sure.
Yeah, I can't explain it, but I guess you don't have to. I mean, that's the other problem people have is they want to be able to explain everything. Like, I don't know, maybe some things can't be explained yet. And if it works, it works. I mean, why wouldn't you try everything? Like, let's say, with those people getting sick around me, I had nothing else to do. What's the harm in trying to convince myself I'm not going to get sick?
Yeah.
I had 12 hours to kill. So anyway, we were going to get into some proposal stuff today. Over the years, separately and then together as a team, we've had several times where we've done discovery calls with clients and put together proposals for them. It's a little tricky, especially a major client. You want to get them on an actual call so they can see personalities and you can talk to them. You can't always sell them in the call, but the market's so saturated right now. And anybody can send a Google Doc or a website over that has your information on it and has look at all the stuff we've done. We're so great, whatever. But it really is beneficial to get on a call. And that's not just hoping that you get the job, but you want to make sure it's a good fit, because we've been on some calls and it was not a good fit. And, so you also get to gauge the attitude of the prospective client. There's a couple of different ways to do it. Obviously, you want to try to lock them into a call so you can get on, but you also want to send over enough information ahead of time so that you're not wasting their time during the call, that you impress them ahead of time. There's a balance there, because if you send them everything you got ahead of time, they may not read it, which is usually the case. That's why Looms are very powerful, and Amazon does this. Before we get on any type of meeting or a call, to not waste our time or the other person's time, we try to list everything out, even if it's a Google Doc or something that's open that they can leave comments on. I found it to be helpful. That way you're just not going in cold. Now, you can't guarantee that the person on the other end is going to read or watch everything you send them, but it is nice to go into a meeting where they're like, hey, I reviewed all your stuff. I had these questions, just kind of go through everything as much as possible before you get into that call. Some of them we've gone into thinking that the client needed a particular thing, and it turns out they needed something either completely different or they needed far more than we do. So you have to be prepared for that. And we'll use one as an example from recently. This particular client just wanted mostly one service. Then as we got to know them a little bit, well, hell, they could use this across the board for everything. So you have to be organized. You have to be ready to roll out with that. It's very helpful. And we talked about this in one of our meeting shows, to record the conversation with one of the apps, because then after the call, you can follow up and use AI to be like, hey, what was I supposed to send over, kind of thing. But just gauging what they want in the call and staying on track and not being too salesy, and just making them feel like you're going to do everything for them so they don't have to worry about anything. And what I mean by that is, you don't want to give the client a bunch of homework. You don't want to go in saying, hey, we can work for you. We can do all this. We're going to need you to do all these things and provide us with all this stuff. Just really taking the stress off of them. On the call the other day, and we have a full service agency. We have team members that we can bring in at any particular time. If we don't need them, we don't need them. If we do, we do. And they were listing off all these things that they needed, that we knew going into the meeting that they needed. And then they got off on a different track and said, hey, we could use these other things as well. And you don't want to just fluff people up and lie about it or exaggerate, of course. You don't want to say you can do something when you can't. And if you already have somebody else that's doing it for you and you don't want to fire them, we will work alongside of them. But there's so much you could do before the proposal, before the discovery call, and then during the call, and then following up afterwards, just reinforcing. Because again, the market saturated is tough. And then it never hurts to have a friend in the company too, even if it's not the CEO, to kind of get in, even if you don't know them ahead of time, with somebody who's mid-level or whatever, hey, what are their thoughts on this? What's the inside track? What are you really looking for? The CEO said this, but he or she is super busy.
I think one of the important things is going to one of the calls, and unfortunately for the last call that we had, the discovery one, I wasn't able to get this list handed to me because they were putting out so many different fires. They just didn't have time to do it. But one of the best things to do is actually ask them for a list of things that they're looking for. Now, don't always ask the question, what is it that you need help with or what are you looking for? The best thing is you really use your wording properly. Say, what are your needs and what are your desires? Because people want to be taken care of. They want their needs and desires met. So if you say, what are your needs, what are your desires, as opposed to what kind of help do you need or what are you looking for? Because people don't really know what they're really looking for. But if you can say, what are the top needs? What's the most priority thing that you're desiring from right now? They can come up with it. Look, I'm desiring that our company grows. I'm looking for better with this. really articulating your wording properly leading into that's going to make a very big difference in like the outcome of it. But yeah, doing that, and then also what I like to do is like ask them what the priority level is too, right? Because they might have like a list of 10 things that they're looking for, but they might start off with, let's say, posting or social media, then it might be email marketing, then it might be website, and then it might be this. Well, the website might be the number one thing that they have so many issues with, but they're just listing things off. So if you come into it, you want to make sure that you tackle their most, their biggest hurdles and their biggest problems first. So asking them for their list of needs, desires, and then also the priority level of each one, because then you can actually go in and be like, okay, this is what's really bothering them. This is what they need the most help with. Let's do as much research as we can into fixing this problem for them so they look like they're taken care of. So, I mean, when it comes to that, like just making sure you get that kind of information at the beginning. If you don't get it at the last meeting, we didn't really have much information. Like we did know that it was, website, a little bit of Google stuff, and some back end coding that was issues. But in the meeting, obviously, like Lee was saying, we're listening. Like you guys need help across the board. Like their back end of their site hasn't been updated in like 8 years, and anytime they try to do any updates, it would crash the system. Like there's just a whole spew of things that we could help with. But really, really identifying the problems and like you were saying, like, don't lie in a meeting. Don't say you can do something if you can't actually do it. And the best thing, like you mentioned there, is say you have someone, or someone, or you can get someone to do this for them. So it helps them. You want to be their one-stop shop. You want to make sure that they're not just hiring you for social media. You need to be able to do all the different aspects, because we had I had a meeting with a guy named, I'll actually leave his name out, but I had a meeting with him, and he was actually trying to consolidate into just having one firm take over everything. Because he's got a social media manager, and he's got a web designer, and he's got an email marketer, he's got 6 different companies. He's got to talk to 6 different heads who they talk to their teams. So like his spider network of communication was long, right? Where you just have one point of contact and they delegate to everything else. So if you're not an agency owner and you don't offer all these services, this doesn't really apply to you. Like if you're just a social media marketer, that's all you can really offer. But if you're looking at creating an agency, that's the best way to do it, is don't lie about you can do this. Say you can find someone, you have someone that can, right? Because that's one of the biggest things with these meetings is, if you're honest, authentic, and vulnerable with them, they're going to trust you. They're going to like you. I can sniff energies now. Like I can understand, like, and you're full of fucking shit. Like you're just like, oh yeah, we could do this.
We can do everything. We do all this stuff.
Hell, I'll fly to your house and film it for you. Like, so being as authentic as you can, and just letting them know, people would rather respect you saying, like I've done a lot of times now, like, personally do this, but I have a guy that does that. Right. And they like that.
There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm not sure about this, I'll get back to you after the meeting. Like you could go through a list of 10 points and maybe 3 of them you're not sure about. You'd be like, hey, let me look into that. Let me check my network, see if I know somebody who can do it. So yeah, there's that. And that people can tell, because they're used to getting sold to all the time, especially now when clients are going to all these prospective meetings. Everybody in those meetings, or most everybody in those meetings, are just like, yes, we can do it all. We can do it all. Everything you need, we can do everything. So one thing you can do, like you mentioned, getting some information ahead of time before you go into the meeting. Again, that's giving them homework. So you can frame it as like, the more information you provide before the meeting, the better I can serve you in the meeting. And there's so many technologies out there now. It doesn't have to be them sitting down and typing everything out. There's voice notes. There's all these other things. You can say, hey, just drop me a scattered brain dump of a voice note. You could do it on your phone and then email it over. It doesn't have to be organized. Like when you're out for your morning walk or something, I will go through it and figure out what you need. You know what I mean? You don't have to like make them sit down and do this whole questionnaire, because that's usually not going to fly with people. But yeah, it is nice to go in prepared and be able to give the most service possible. A lot of firms, a lot of agencies will go into a meeting and they'll say, we want to take over everything. So for example, with the client we're just talking about, they had somebody that does their email marketing already. They have somebody that may be working on a certain component of their servers and everything they need, because it's a very complicated thing. We could have easily said like, oh, no, you got to get rid of them. You have to use us for everything. Well, the thing is, sometimes that is better because we can make more money off of that. But the way we address it is like, if you have other people working for you, we can work alongside them. Like we're not going to come in and break shit and remove people and everything else. So just being able to integrate, being able to handle everything, and getting them to do things concurrently. So like you mentioned, they may have all these other things they didn't realize that needed to be done. Well, a lot of times these clients, they're really good at what they do in their specific field. They don't realize like, hey, we need a new website. And then we need to market that new website and launch that new website, our new promotion, whatever it's going to be, our new offer. And a lot of times they'll just worry about one, they'll think linearly. They'll think the website first, then we'll get to the marketing. Whereas what you should be doing is doing the marketing strategy and getting ready. So when that website's ready to go, you can, the next day, you can do a big launch and start making money right away. They don't always think that way. They're always like one thing at a time. And that's why they need like a little bit of more of a strategic partner versus somebody's going to come in and just tackle one thing at a time. So again, it's just listening to what they need and hearing them and then following up afterwards, which we're really good at. You're especially good at stuff like that, following up with people and just making sure, because sometimes that's all it is too. Some people give up. The rule is, and this is uncomfortable sometimes, but the rule is you're supposed to actually keep following up until somebody flat out tells you to fuck off. They're like, no, because you never know in the back of their mind, like they're busy. You may not hear from them, because a lot of people give up after a meeting. They'll reach out one more time and then they'll get like a no response, and then they'll just give up. And that's the other thing. Yeah. Like there's a line there of being aggressive or not aggressive.
Yeah, there's a stat. I think it's like somewhere in this between 70% of all sales are sealed between the 8th and 9th follow-up message. So there's a big stat on like the number of follow-ups.
I didn't know that. That's a lot.
And how many? Yeah, it's a lot. Like the majority of sales were in the like there. I forget the name of the book that it was in, but it's like sales are in the follow-ups. Follow-ups are a really key point. Now talking about the proposals too. Let's say, for example, the client we just spoke to as well, they have 20 things they need us to do or whoever they choose to do it on, but they're also looking at outsourcing a lot of little small things as well. So we sent out, we haven't sent out the proposal. Yeah, we talked about what we can do as far as the big picture thing. Now, a good strategy you can do is also be like, hey, look, I know you need all of this. I'll send you a proposal for everything. But I can also send you just a proposal for the one item that you really, really need help with. Because a lot of people, there's so many fake agencies out there. And there's so many fake entrepreneurs and web developers and people that are just like faking it till they make it kind of thing. And a lot of people have been burned from that. Actually, one of the guys that we sent a proposal out today, he had a few horror stories of web developers. He's gone through 4 in the last 2 years. And one guy, the last one he had, made him pay everything up front and only deliver half the items. Right. So there's a lot of horror stories. So people are very leery about, doing a $20,000 retainer for a company they don't really know because they've been burned in the past. So you can always start small, right? You can send out a proposal. You can send out hey, here's proposal number 1 for everything. Or if you want to, want us to prove ourselves and kind of get our foot in the door and show you that we can actually provide you results and expectations and meet your demands and desires and needs, why don't we just start with this one item here? Once we tackle this, you can prove to you that we've done an outstanding job. You get to know us, see what our work style is like. Then we can look at doing the bigger picture thing.
Yeah. Right? And so if you've got I was going to say, if you got a little bit of a work history and you can show that, ideally nobody's working for free. Now, we had to do it in the beginning. We've all done it. Like we've had to go do things for free that we absolutely couldn't stand doing. But you're right. You could chip it down to a smaller set of tasks. That's an easier whatever for them to swallow before you start hitting. But you also want to make it clear to them like, hey, I'm willing to do these smaller components first, but we're busy. We don't do things for free. I mean, because the fact of the matter is, discovery calls and follow-ups, those are time out of our days. Whether you think about it or not, you're task switching, you know what I mean? It's like, that's something that's coming out of the day that you're not getting paid for. Absolutely. We also try to shy away. And look, we're in a position now where we can do that, where we can charge people. There was a time where we were both doing a lot of things for free, and that fucking sucked.
We got experience from it though. Like, I mean, without doing that, we got a lot of experience. And there's times I remember I told my episode 4 or something like that, I was doing 5-10 page websites for $500 a few years back because I just didn't have any money. I was just doing whatever I possibly could to make money, and it got me where I need to go. And then you just have to start learning what your value is, what your self-worth is. Like, don't do anything for free. Big thing is, I would say we were bad for this. Is like, we'd have a client, let's say we did the proposal and it was like $3,000. Like, well, I only have $1,300. Can we do it for that? We're like,
Yeah.
okay, sure. And then like, even though like we knew like our bodies were telling us like don't do this, we just didn't listen to ourselves, our gut intuition. We went so whatever your bare minimum bottom line is, don't go below that. If they're going to say no to that, you're going to find another client that will say yes. The more true you stay to yourself and what your value is and what you're worth and your time's worth, people are going to respect that. Because if you just keep, we talked about this before, like, if someone comes over and says, "Hey, I'll cut your lawn for you for $100," you'll go, "I'll pay you 50." That's fucking insulting.
Yeah. And they're going to take a piss on the side of your house too.
Yeah, oh
They're
yeah,
going to piss into your air conditioner. They're like, fuck these people.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
shit,
Yeah. No, I agree. And and sometimes people get burned and they come into meetings like this. And that's actually happened a lot lately where people are like, well, I paid all these people a bunch of money in the past. And sometimes you have to take that as it is. So meaning if the client says, hey, I paid 5 developers in the past and they burned me every time, and then you find out that they try to go super cheap every time, that's when you have to chime in and say, hey, look, you literally get what you pay for. The market's saturated. So if I hear from somebody who's got a website task or whatever that would require $10,000 and they tell us that they spent 1,005 times and didn't get the results, I'm like, well, okay, well, you have to understand as the client that you're coming in too low on this. Like, that's to be expected, because people do get burned, but sometimes they get burned for a reason, because they try to go super cheap, and then then they just keep cycling through that. So that's another way to be like, hey, look, we're expensive, but you're going to get it done right, and we're going to be with you for the length of whatever. You're always going to be able to call upon us even after the project ends.
Yeah, I just thought of two good things actually. One is, talking about people being leery and getting burned in the past. That's why we always do retainers. Or if it's just like, web project, I do 40% upfront, 40% 2 weeks into it, or 3 weeks, depending on the size of the project, and then the final 20% when it's completed. So therefore, it's like mutual assurance that in order for me to get the rest of my money, I have to do a great job. And in order for them to have a completed website, they got to pay me. So it's like, it takes the skepticism out of paying me half up front or 100% up front and stuff like that. I would never do that, because if it's a new client that doesn't really know me, they're gonna be like, why am I paying you all up front? What's stopping you from just fucking off and taking all my money? So doing the 40-40-20 is really good. I used to do 50 up front, 50 when it ended. But then what I noticed is with development costs, I get the half up front, and then let's say it's a month-long project, I'm paying my developers, and all of a sudden, even though I know I'm going to be getting the other half of it at the end of the project, I'm actually coming out of my own pocket in the meantime, paying my developers, waiting for it to be finished. So 40-40-20 is really good. A thing that just came to me, and I think we should actually incorporate this, is we should actually start getting video testimonials from our old clients about the work that we did, because inside of our portfolio, they just came to me now. They're like the portfolio of all the websites and stuff we've done. We have the links to the website, but I think we should also have a video in there too. Say, hey, like, hi, my name is. I can use an example. Hi, my name is Christy from Executive Remote Worker. I worked with Sean, Lee, and Corey on my website and stuff like this. They did this, this, and this. So then it's like she's saying who she is, her website, our names, and then when we send that portfolio to clients, it's like, okay, like these aren't just, it's like, even with reviews, like written reviews, I thought with this, like, there's been so many times where I've done like, cheap little sites for people, and they're just like, yeah, just write like 5 fake reviews in there. So I'm like, this is an amazing platform to be on. John Doe. Words are just, anybody can write a word, but a video testimonial of like their face, they're saying their name, they're saying your name, your company, your agency, and what you did for them. It's hard to fake that. I mean, yeah, there's AI, but like, who's really gonna spend the time making 10 fake AI testimonial videos for themselves?
Some weirdo, yeah.
Someone
And you make it easier on the clients too, because a lot of them, that's extra work for them. So you can script it or say, hey, look, I'm going to send you over some bullet points. Just read these into your phone. Record yourself reading these tape. What the fuck am I talking tape? When's the last time we had tape? You can record yourself into your phone and just send me the raw footage. I will edit it down. Like, don't make it a hard lift or heavy lift for them. Make it like, just set up your phone, read these bullets. If you make mistakes, just keep rolling through it. Like, you don't want to have to like give them such a homework project that they're like, oh my gosh, because you'll never get video testimonials that way. So that's a good thing to do. And a note on contracts as well. So like you're talking about splitting up 40-40-20, which is a really good idea. A lot of people are like, well, what if there's a contract? I'm like, good luck. Anybody this day and age, yes, there are contracts. Okay. You signed it, the client signs it. How much money and time do you think you're going to spend suing or getting sued? You know what I mean? You all lose no matter what. So should you have a contract in place? Yeah. But it shouldn't resort to that. Instead of saying, like, you'll pay me when it's done, and then you end up getting screwed and have to go after the client. You know how long that's going to take to get your money and how much you're going to spend trying to get that money back. And same thing on there. We can't sit here and say don't have a contract. That would be improper. But don't rely on that shit. It's better to space things out, payments out, like you just mentioned, or have some other mechanism in place so that it doesn't get ugly like that. Because I don't know if anybody's familiar with the legal system. It's not exactly smooth, streamlined, or cheap.
Yeah. Now, the thing with contracts, I mean, like if it's, $1,000 and under, I think it goes to small claims court. So it's going to end up costing you more money to file the lawsuit and go through with the lawyers than you're actually going to get for your money back. I think contracts are really big for some of the larger scale clients who are going to be getting in here, where it's going to be like the $150,000 mark, because that's a lot of money. That's no longer small claims. That's an actual lawsuit. So they would actually recuperate their money and profit off of either us or the client. Let's say if something went wrong either way, it'd actually be more suitable to have a contract then. But if it's anything under 10,000, I still send out scope of work contracts. I always do it for every client just to have it there because it makes them feel more at ease. But they're really fucking worthless. Like, I'm not going to go after my client for $3,000, and they're not going to come after me for. I mean, they would never come after me because I always make sure I do all my work. But you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. But if it's a large project, if they're spending $100,000-$200,000, over a course of a year, like you're going to want some sort of legal binding documents that tie into that for on your sake and on their sake too. But yeah, the whole contract thing's just,
And a lot of things have to go right for a contract lawsuit to work. Like the amount has to be enough. You have to push it through the legal system, hopefully finding a lawyer that takes it on contingency, which is not easy to do, meaning they're going to get a big chunk out of whatever money you win back. And then even if a judgment gets filed, let's say you win, the client has to have the money to pay. So depending upon who it is, if it's a large corporation, sure, and you're talking like you were saying about the big contract, yeah, I'm not worried about that. But what if you sue somebody for $5,000 and you win? You may still never get paid. It doesn't mean they just have the money. That's not the way it works. So yeah, but we're not lawyers. We're not going to get into all the legal stuff, but we're just from what we've seen over the years, it can get pretty messed up. So
say they have 20 items, you send them a large proposal, but then you also send them a small one to tackle it. There is the risk of you getting, let's say you get the small one, and in that time they find someone else to do the other stuff. There is always that risk, but at least you locked in for something. If they're skeptical to do the whole big thing, they're going to be, and they give you a small contract, they're going to wait to see you prove yourself and stuff like that. But I just want to let you know, it's not like a foolproof plan. Like if you lock them in for the little one, you're going to get the big one. It might not always work. Even if you do a great job with that, there is still the potential of them finding someone else for those other aspects they're looking for. But the key points: be honest, be truthful. Don't lie about things that you can or cannot do. Say if you know someone that can do it, outsource it when you can. Stay in integrity with your boundaries when it comes to what your price point is. Don't do anything for free. Allow yourself to make sure that you try and do as much homework as you can prior to the meeting. Don't give them homework. Give them, like say, hey, send me a voice note or a quick jot of like what your needs and desires are and the priority list of this.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, don't really emphasize that. Like, don't make it feel like they need to do this for the call. Be like, I've worded it, this will help allow us to be more prepared for our meeting to be able to serve you better. Right. So make it like it's for them. Don't say it's not for you. I don't need the list. This is your desires for me to help you. So if you really phrase it that way, I think that's really gonna drive home to them. Because like, oh yeah, he's helping me. I'm not doing anything for him. He's doing stuff for me. Like, I'm gonna give him like 5 key things. He's gonna research it for me. Right.
And getting your foot in the door on a smaller chunk of it is good too, because then you get to know everybody. You're kind of like, it's easier to use the person who's already kind of working for you. But it is important to get all their stuff. Just like keep asking, like, what else are you guys missing here? Or what else do you need that you don't have at the moment? Maybe it's something I can help with. Because sometimes what happens is we'll join, like what's happened to me recently, where I start working for somebody and then they're like, oh, we need all this other stuff too. Well, I do all that, but you guys didn't tell me. So that's, again, just being upfront with everything you just said, and then making sure you just keep asking. Because a lot of times it won't register in their brains that they need something. Like they don't realize it. They, a lot of times, need to be told what they need, which I know is cliche, but it's true. Some clients need to literally be told what they need. So they don't know what they want until you tell them.
And to touch on that too, like, when you ask them what you need, also maybe a phrase like, yeah, is there anything else you need? I also offer a lot of other services and I have a network and a team. So like, because I think I'm just looking at it from this point of view. If I come in just as a web developer and I say, is there anything else that you need? Their brain is going to be thinking of other web development related stuff, right? So they might not think of anything else. But if you let them know, like, hey, look, is there anything else that you need for your business? I also do a lot of other different. I serve in a lot of different areas. I have a team and a network that we specialize in, like marketing and stuff like that. Is there anything else you need for your business? So, because if you come into it as the graphic designer and you say, is there anything else you need? They're only going to think of graphic designing questions and topics. But if you let them know you do other things as well, then it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to think of some better ideas for you.
Well said. Well said. Well, we appreciate everybody. We're trying to keep this one short-ish. Still
Yeah,
at 40
it was
minutes,
good.
but that's okay. Yeah. Hopefully it was helpful. And we will be actually working through a couple new proposals here. So if you have any questions about anything we talked about, drop them in the comments and then we'll get back to you. And we're doing these things all the time and we're still making mistakes. Every time we get a big one, we'll let you know like how it went. And hopefully then you'll see us in fancier offices and everything. So who knows? Sean will have more jewelry. We appreciate everybody. Please like and subscribe. Leave comments for anything. Could be about my stupid hair. We don't care. But we'll catch everybody next week.
I just got a fresh
I was
cut
gonna say,
yesterday.
yeah, that's just growing fast, dude.
Well,
It's
it
ridiculous.
used to be like this long all the way
Yeah,
here, but it's going to cut. But yeah,
yeah.
thanks guys. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you guys next week.
Sounds good. To be continued.